Hi, you're on Pablo Spot, and this is DEVscoOPS, a rapid show and tell on tools and practices in cloud technology in general. And so if this tickles your fancy, hit the subscribe button. So let's get into it. Imagine you're trying to set up a CI/CD tool that leverages on Docker containers as build agents. And the tasks in your build and deployment pipeline require several versions of binaries. This is a use case for implementing a Docker inside Docker approach to setting up build agents. So let's head over to my VS Code and have a look at a concrete example. Let's create a directory here and call it build agent. And inside this directory, I'll create the Docker configuration file. I'll set the base image for this build agent to the latest Ubuntu image. Suppose I have a number of tasks in my pipeline that require Node and Terraform binaries running inside the container. One option I could take is install these binaries inside the container. So to install Node.js and to set up Terraform installation. And now let me build this custom Docker image. So I'll head to my terminal and cd to the location of my Docker config file and then run docker build. And with the build done, let me list all the images. I'll start a container with this image. And then I can verify that Node.js and Terraform binaries exist on this agent by running these commands. So that looks good, but there is a limitation on this setup. When you require multiple versions of the binaries to run inside the build agent, you will end up having to install every single version that you need. You'll need to update the Docker configuration file for every version requirement. There is a way to run Node.js and Terraform commands using different versions without having to install these permanently inside the Docker image. So let me exit this container to show you an example on my local machine. What I need to do is pull the appropriate Docker images for these versions down to my local machine. So now let me list down all the Docker images that I have on my machine. Now that I have these Docker images for the two versions of Node that I need, I can start using them by running Docker containers for each of the versions like this. And then I can do the same thing for Terraform. And then to start using them, I can just initiate Docker containers pointing to these Docker images. What I need to do is replicate this same behavior inside my build agent Docker image. So I'll update my Docker configuration file and install Docker instead of Node.js and Terraform. So it will look like this. And now if I go back to my terminal, I will now rebuild my Docker image after my changes. I'll start a container using this new build agent image. And now I'm going to try pulling Docker images into this container. It failed. This is because a Docker daemon which creates the socket file in the error message is not running inside the container. What I need to do in order for Docker to work inside the container is to mount the socket file created inside the host machine into the container. The host machine in my case is my local machine. This means any Docker commands that I will run inside my Docker container will essentially talk to the Docker daemon running on my machine. So let me get out of this container. This is where the interesting part happens. Remember earlier, I've run the commands to pull the Node.js and Terraform Docker images to my local machine. These same Docker images become available on my Docker container. So if I run Docker images in here, my Node images as well as my Terraform images are already there, which means I can simply run whatever Node.js and Terraform commands I need to run inside this container, like this. And suppose I also need to run Python commands. So this means I need to pull the Docker image down to my Docker container. And now if I start using this Python image, that works. If I exit this Docker container, the Python Docker image that I just pulled from inside the container will also become available on my local machine. So if I list down all the Docker images on my machine, Python is right there. And that's it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, stay safe.